tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Welcome back. You are watching BLM Community, more than just a hashtag. Thank you guys for joining us. We have so many topics to discuss, but today we're talking Kanye West's run for president. The FBI opens up a new investigation into the attempted lynching of Vaughxx Booker, and the cultural change sweeping sports in America, causing some sports teams to reevaluate their names. I'm your host, SHAKA Smith, and I'm joined by an incredible panel of great panelists. We're gonna start with LaToya Lynn Blakely, actress and attorney. How you doing, LaToya Lynn?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. We got educator and a journalist, Thelma Mbaezue-Daniel. How you doing, Thelma?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Shaka.
Thank you for being here. And of course, we have actor and comedian Derek Downey Jr. What's up, Derek? How you doing?
What's up, my man? I'm doing good. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. And before we really get into it, I do want to ask just how you guys are doing personally. I know this uptick, this surge in COVID, I know we all have our anxieties there. And of course, with the protests and the movement, I know we're kind of dealing with different things. LaToya, I'll start with you. Just kind of how are you doing? How are you coping? And we'll go down.
Today's a good day, but every day is a different day. Every week's a different week. I've just been, trying to stay busy, picked up a few new hobbies, and trying to stay in a good mental space.
I feel that. How about you, Thelma?
I agree with that. I feel like, it's kind of, you can't even jump to the days at this point, right? You have to take the moments as they come because you find out new things. So this is a good moment, even in as bad as it is, having this opportunity to just discuss it is healing in itself for us and for the people who will be watching.
And we had Blackout. We had Blackout Tuesday yesterday. It was. I almost forgot about it because I've been like, I need the mental break. How about yourself, Derek? How's it going?
Well, this week has been a lot better than last week. I had a little scare and I thought I had the Rona. So I went and got tested like twice, but during that whole process of like 5 days of me feeling horrible, like I was panicking, like I was about to start writing a will. But anyway, this week we're doing amazing, okay? I'm back to 100%, I'm feeling great.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it. It's obviously we've gotten to 3 million cases really quickly in the United States. And we're going to start off with this particular story of a Florida man. I don't know why it's always my home state, Florida. But, this guy who's now been identified as Daniel Maples, railed against another person who had said, wear a mask. And what I think, and, the first thing he said was, I feel threatened. I think we have the video here so we can see it. But for me, I viscerally, when I heard the I feel threatened, it kind of gave me that response of, is this going to go any further? And this was the guy in the Costco that was kind of, refusing to wear a mask. And I think we got the video right now. And we see how quickly things escalate. For someone feeling threatened, he certainly doesn't seem to be taking a I feel threatened stance. What do you guys think about, I guess, the intersectionality between what's going on with Corona and what's going on with the protests? Because it almost seems like those who want the freedom in wearing the masks are also the ones who are using this language against people that, minorities in general, that they feel, don't have value in terms of their own behavior. I guess I'll start with you, LaToya. A very complicated question.
I watched the video and I have so many thoughts and reactions, from like it being comical almost, that this has become a normal activity and a normal way to behave for so many people, and then being just beyond angry at the same thing, that this is normal behavior for so many people. And I've brought up the thought before that I wonder if fear of other races, specifically Black fear, is an excuse. It's not an actual fear because it's intentional. These people know what they're doing. I'm going to say I'm being threatened. I feel threatened. I'm afraid for my life. There's no actual fear. It's a battle cry is what it is. It's a phrase that they wave as a way to protect themselves while waging war against someone else. And I think that it is beyond time for people to be held accountable and responsible for their actions, because things like that should never happen, ever.
Yeah, And I think it's almost, I don't even know if the person that called him out on the mask was a minority, but it's become this sort of coded language that I think people that are using white privilege or have white privilege are able to use and say, now this puts me in a position of authority. Thelma, what are your thoughts?
And I agree. It's not only a coded language, it's embedded in our legislators, embedded in our laws, right? So this is the same tactics that we see the police using. I feel threatened, therefore, open blanket, I can do whatever I want. So I think to just put that video into context, it was an old lady who actually feels threatened, right? Who's actually in the demographic who's dying at an alarming rate than everyone else. All she's asking you to do is put on your mask. So then you can't also remove what's happening and this behavior from the shirt that he has on, right? Running things 1776. Every aspect of this is a violent act on his part. So I feel threatened is just a blanket statement to now forgive or to, rescue him from whatever the repercussions of what he does will be. But I thought that that was just interesting to watch, and I'm curious to understand where this threat he's talking about is coming from. Like, put on your mask.
Yeah.
We feel threatened.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Derek?
So when you're threatened by anything, I never, in my personal experience, have been threatened by something and I go towards it. You know what I'm saying? When he said that he went towards the person, like that made absolutely no sense. Okay. And it's just another case of white privilege and somebody using it to get their way. And that's all I've seen. And it's also great that we see more people recording these situations. And it's also great that more people are showing their true colors because we need to take actions against people like that.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that it was the elderly lady that recorded that video. It was like another bystander that recorded that. So it is so important when we see things that are going wrong for our allies and ourselves to stand up and say, hey, at least catch it on camera because we can't let this go by.
Right.
But what went a little bit further, well, not even a little bit further, just a lot further, another incident caught on camera, which, this is Vaughxx Booker. And to Vaughxx Booker now, I think he's trying to catch the lunar eclipse. He's in Bloomington, and he's crossing some woods, which turned out to be private property. And this dispute regarding private property turns out it spills over into what looks like an attempted lynching. At one point, it's alleged that you hear someone say, "Get a noose," and so we're watching those scenes from this this melee. And so what happens here is we get another person involved who's able to film this, and they were the ones who actually broke it up. Vaughxx Booker has since come out and said, he really feared for his life in this moment, and he really thought, his life was going to be taken from him. Just as we see these incidents happen, and right now we're looking for charges. So the Department of Natural Resources was called. They went there. They had the authority to make an arrest. They declined to make an arrest. After watching this video, they declined to make an arrest. And right now we're calling for charges. And there was a protest on Monday night, and a car slammed into protesters, and we're still waiting to find out where that driver is. So things are tense. But again, what do you think about this in 2020? We just had an anti-lynching bill that was defeated. I'll start with you on this, Thelma. What are your reactions?
When I look at this situation, it's indicative of everything that's going on around our country. And for me, it brings again the power source, which a lot of times is the district attorney, right? And that's a very unchecked and unfeathered position where you have so much power, so much power. In fact, if we really wanted to, we could truly change things as they are now. But the DA refusing to charge and refusing to bring charges is the issue that we're having right now. Yes, it's being investigated as a hate crime, but we all watched that video. And I think it also brings in the conversation about property over people's lives, over human beings. So I think that watching that, you see that the hate that's truly pushed into corners. That's why tolerance is so terrible and so dangerous, right? Because it just goes into little corners and it breathes and it lives until it has the opportunity to come back here. So you see the man even screaming out, he's screaming out all kinds of things. He's threatening people's lives, and he uses the blanket word of liberals. What does that even mean? So I think when we're trying to unpack that, it's really hard for me to see that the DA is refusing to charge, but I think that is indicative of everything that's going on around the country, even all the way down to Breonna Taylor's case.
Yeah, we have the Monroe County prosecutor who has refused to give a timeline for charges. This happened on 4th of July, of course. LaToya, what are your thoughts?
So many thoughts. um, Kind of feeding off of what Thelma said and what you just said, Shaka. I think that when district attorneys, elected officials in counties and in places where you have the pressure to do the right thing, right? You get it done. I don't know anything about Monroe County, but if there's no pressure from the people to act, then there's no incentive for this DA to act.
Yeah.
And so I think that, there are lots of steps that can be taken. We should occupy spaces. I mean, I hate to say where we're wanted, but if you're in a space where there are like-minded people and you can rally together and work together, you get a lot more done. If you are a minority, and when I say minority in Monroe County, I mean a minority in position and thought, then it's a lot harder to get people to act. As well as when I watched that video, I was really confused as to where his friends were. I mean, I know they're around and I know that you can hear them saying, let him go. But I was actually a little taken aback that it seemed that no one was physically coming to his aid.
How about you, Derek? What were your thoughts?
Exactly that. I was more disturbed by the lack of support. You know what I'm saying? And I was reading comments when the video first, when I first saw the video, a lot of people were saying, like, we shouldn't hang out or we shouldn't go to these places and hang out with, like, where's his black friends? He's the only black person in this group of white people. And it's sad because me growing up, I never had to think that way. Even though I was raised in the South, I never thought that way, having white friends and everything. But now you see the climate that we're in and how we're being treated. And it's almost like you do have to think like that now. Like, who are you around? Are they your real friends? And as far as the DA, I mean, the pressure is going to come from, the people, but that's also, it shouldn't be like that. When I say that, what I mean is that if it was a black person, if it was a group of black people, action would have already been taken.
Probably been arrested that evening.
Right. Because the system that's in place was never built to support us. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot harder for us to get justice when things like this happen.
Yeah. And I think it's just important for us to continue to keep a spotlight on this. This happened with 4th of July. I didn't know about it till a couple of days later. So we just got to keep the spotlight on it. Hopefully someone, or I'm going to try to find out and coordinate the data on what's happening in Monroe County so that we can kind of be more vocal about it and be more intentional. I think it's good to be vocal, but we have to be intentional. We have to find out what numbers to call, what emails to send emails to. Thelma, were you going to say something?
I was definitely just going to say, and this should be a wake-up call to everyone, because politics is very much local, right? So you talk about your local district attorney, your local sheriffs, these are people that you get to elect. It shouldn't be the pressure of the people that pushes them to make the right decision. That is the elected office that you hold. So for so long, they have had, people are talking about how hard it is to persecute cops. Go do your research and find out how hard it is to persecute a DA. It is it's unblanketed power. So we truly now have to wield this power to ourselves as individuals and as citizens. And I feel as though what you said, Derek, is so important, because I don't know any of my white friends who would not be willing to put themselves in the line for me. So yelling, get off of him from way back is just unacceptable. And I think that's a reckoning that white people also have to kind of come to terms with, right? It's great to post, it's great to donate, but are you willing to part with your privilege? Are you willing to part with your assumption of innocence? Are you willing to put yourself on the line when it matters most? So that was a very scary thing to watch. And absolutely not. We shouldn't just hide out in places, just because, we shouldn't just go here because, you're not wanted here. Truly, that's what we need to address. it's the issues that we need to address. And I think it was really sad to watch and to see how it happened on 4th of July. Again, it shouldn't surprise anyone why Black people are so disconnected from that day. And oh man, that was a painful video.
Yeah, and I think what you brought up is about our local elections. That's where we have a lot of power. Sadly, you know, the assault on the news that we've had the last 4 years, where our local news, who we got so much good information from, that's been eroded as well. But we do have a national election coming up where we can do something from the top down coming up in November. But of course, curiously, we got an announcement from Kanye West that he is now running for president. And this has been followed up with a 4-hour interview that he did with Forbes, saying this is a real deal. He's going to take another 30 days to really try to finalize things, even though he feels he's missed some deadlines on the ballot. He believes because of the coronavirus concerns, he can overcome some of that. And just to give you a couple of the points he's making in this Forbes article, he will be running under the birthday party because it'll be like a birthday when he wins. Elon Musk will be an advisor to him. He'd even asked Elon Musk at some point whether or not he would be taking over the space program. And he did reveal that he believes he had corona in February, but he is against, he's sort of very circumspect about any vaccines. So he's kind of in line with the anti-vax movement. What do you think about, I guess in general, I mean, just, what are your thoughts? You know, there's so many different places we can go here. But I'll start with you, Derek. What are your thoughts about Kanye and this run for president?
People, don't do it, okay? Don't fall for the hype. Oh my goodness. I think it's all right. First of all, Kanye, he is very smart. A lot of people don't like. No, he is. He is when it comes to marketing. When it comes to his brand and getting publicity, he is very smart at doing it. Now, is he smart when it comes to running for a political office? Of course not. I just say don't fall for the hype, because it's, first of all, what it's going to do for especially for the Black vote is that you have people that aren't really educated that sees a Black person running for office and may just vote for him just because he's part of this hip hop culture and not really valuing their vote. And what that is going to do is it's going to take away from getting Code Orange out of office, first of all. Okay. So that's one issue. And I don't know what his what his actions are, what he's actually trying to run for, what change he's trying to bring about. But I just think that is a publicity stunt.
Well, for me, I don't know if this would make me buy one more Yeezy or, you know, throw on another Kanye record. So publicity stunt at this stage, I'm not sure if it's even that, because I don't see how it benefits him.
He said this last year too. He said this last year too.
Oh, well, yeah.
Or like 4 years ago, he said this, right?
He was going to run for president.
Yeah.
And that made more sense because it was a sort of, you know, I'm going to do it. But now, you know, running under the birthday party and having Elon Musk be the advisor, this seems a little bit stranger. Thelma, do you have any thoughts on this as an educator? I don't know if you have any thoughts about mental health, because to me, this is more indicative of something in that nature. But what do you think?
I think Kanye West running for president right now is representative of what's wrong with the United States right now. We're very selfish. Everyone wants to put ourselves first. I think that he could have many reasons for wanting to do this. He has mentioned before he wants to run for president. I mean, the options that we have, I'm not too crazy about. Let's just be real. I get it. But to be completely honest, for you at such a pivotal time, to play this joke, this host basically, with our lives at such a sensitive time in our life, it shows how selfish and disconnected you are from the reality of the pain that we are all going through. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes people do identify more with being powerful or being rich than they do with being Black. And somebody like Kanye West, who is the birth child of a revolutionary, Donda West, I am still trying to grapple with what the meaning of where he's coming from or where he's going with it. Because to be completely honest, for him to run for president now, to me, it's an intentional tactic who is only going to help one person. And I think that knowing that and seeing that is truly dangerous. Kanye West has always been dangerous, right? Because of timing. Timing is everything. So I think right now, maybe some of us were looking like, who's somebody else going to jump into the race? We were waiting for that, but not in the, please do not make a joke and a mockery of the seriousness of this time and how critical it is. So that's how I feel when it comes to Kanye West running for president. I think that it's a mixed bag. I don't think I can take him serious. And I think for him to do it shows how selfish he is and how disconnected he is from our pain right now.
Yeah, and in the Forbes article, he, of course, has officially denounced Donald Trump. He said, he believed that when he caught wind that he actually was hiding in the bunker, that kind of made him, no longer a Trump supporter. But there are some who are
that made him not a, you see what I'm saying? And then just to understand that you're now making such an announcement telling us you need 30 more days. Our lives are on the line in November. Yeah. Can you imagine? So it's the level of disrespect and lack of proper preparedness that's really showing us where your head is right now and how serious you're taking this.
Well, some are saying that maybe this is even actually a ploy to help Donald Trump and that maybe he and Trump are in cahoots. LaToya, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm just really appreciative of Thelma's thoughts because she gave such an intelligent, articulate response. Because to me, this is just a joke, and I've given it no thought. Like, I would never vote for Kanye. It feels like a welcome to the circus. The addition of Elon Musk to any political space also feels like a joke to me, and so that's as far as I've gone in the thought process of.
And I cannot imagine any Black person being fooled or and going, oh, well, he's Black, he's for me, that's Kanye. At this point, I feel like we all know about Kanye. We all understand Kanye and that he's just kind of an outlier. But is there actual real danger? Derek, you were talking about this earlier. Do we think there's an actual real danger of Black people just voting for Kanye and not really knowing what's inspired by this? And do we have to do more to let people know, hey, this is a distraction, or should we kind of continue and be focused on, making sure Trump's out of office and focusing on Biden, who seems to be the most viable candidate to get him out of office?
Go ahead. I would jump in on that and I would say it's very dangerous. I think that anything in terms of, we've already won November, any level of security right now in politics is very dangerous. It's always dangerous, right? Because we never know. And you need to understand that as Americans, the way our system works is we're very attracted to charisma, right? It's about everything is a popularity contest. No one cares about what you've actually done. No one cares how well you can do it. Can you market yourself in a way that shows that you connect with me and you have a shared experience that you might bring into office, whether you leave that at the door or not? We are so attracted to charisma versus track record and experience. So absolutely, I think that not only Black people, there will be fans, there will be young people who will vote. And then there could be people who are just enemies of progress, right? Who just want to vote to deter from where we are. So there's so many factors. It's so layered and so nuanced that the same way we feel about celebrities right now, if you're going to open your mouth, if you're going to speak, anyone, if you're going to speak, if you're going to do anything right now, do it with a high level of consciousness and intentionality, knowing that what you do puts everybody else's around you's life at risk.
Derek?
I got a clap for that. Yeah, it's 100% dangerous, and there will be people and fans that will support him just because he's Kanye West. I mean, if his brand wouldn't be doing so well if he still didn't, if so many Black people were against him and all of that stuff. So he still has a huge influence on people, period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where it's going to go from here, but we do have to continue to highlight and let our people know, and everybody for that part, that do not pay this no mind. Like, we have to give it attention and awareness, but we got to do so in a way to say, hey, don't feed into that, because that's not what we need. And it's crazy because I just thought about it. Him and Elon Musk posted a picture like a few days before he announced that. So I think that when I guess they met, that they probably had a discussion about this. It's all strategic. I don't know what his plan is. Yeah, it's
Just having a
something, but it's
conversation. I want to run for president. Let's do it. Like,
right. So
crazy. Well, we'll see what happens. My hope is that he's at least able to activate young people who wouldn't have otherwise voted, and he doesn't see it through, and they are ready to vote, and they go vote for Biden or whoever. Yeah, I don't know what could happen at this point. It looks like it's Biden. He's going to be the guy on election day, but this has been strange times. So.
But just remember this: before Trump was in office, we never thought that would happen. Okay, so we can't put anything aside as if it can never happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we got to be serious about this, because even though it may be a joke or like a mental issue or something going on with him, like we can't take it as a joke.
Yeah. And I think with the mental issue aspect of it, that's something even with Trump that we've talked about or haven't been really talking about. People talked about the 25th Amendment. People joked about the 25th Amendment. With Kanye, he's made some outlandish statements before, and he said he's been bipolar, and people kind of joked about his statements, but we haven't really examined the mental health of it all, and whether or not in this country, as you talk about defunding the police, whether or not if we actually fund our mental health services more, we look at these issues from a different way and tackle them in a different form.
Yeah, I think that's completely valid. I would just add that, we saw what happened in 2016. And if you understand the way our election system works, the popular vote is already not really what's making the decision. So I think now just trying to deplete that in any way is very dangerous for where we're headed to. Again, so that electoral college, that's your local elections, that's the local people that you elect. That's where you have your power. So I just hope that this kind of is a wake-up call for all of us. It's really sad to see Donda West's child doing this, but I hope he can always reckon. You can never start too far away from what you were grounded on. So I hope that he does kind of come back to himself.
Yeah, well, I think we're all hoping. Well, there has been, obviously deep cultural change. We talk about these statues going down, and that's a whole other issue. But it's also reached sports. And, sports is one of those parts of America that's always united us in general. But we've always had, especially the last 10 to 15 years, this tension about some of our names. We had the Redskins, we had the Chicago Blackhawks. And so now, in light of what's going on, a lot of these teams are rethinking their names. Of course, we have some teams who are not. Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves are rethinking their name as well. But the Chicago Blackhawks have said they're not doing so. It actually honors Black Hawk, who's an actual person of a particular nation, and it actually honors him, and they use it as a way to educate. However, they did end a partner. The American Indian Council of Chicago ended a partnership with them in 2019, saying that they had some problematic stereotypes that were being reinforced. What are you guys' thoughts on this movement coming to sports? Is it warranted? Or should sports completely be divorced from the cultural political change that's happening right now and should be left alone, as a lot of people are contending? I'll start with you on that one, LaToya.
That organizations should be inclusive, and they should do the very best that they can to be inclusive of everyone who participates, enjoys their offering. With that being said, I personally don't really care what the name of a sports team is. I just think there's so many more important issues to tackle and to focus my time, energy, and resources on. So that's my opinion. I mean, if people are offended by names, it's a name. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to change a name, to come up with a name that's more inclusive and more representative of the world that we live in and the world that we want to live in. But that's just not the biggest issue for me.
How about you, Jared?
So if you have any sport or any activity where Black people predominantly dominate that sport, and the representation and the history of it stems off of something that's racist, I think we should definitely look at listening to those demands and making changes. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. How about yourself, Thelma?
I would echo what you guys have said, and I would add that, you know, again, I do not want any performance of empathy. Let's get to the root of the issue. I do think that it's important. History happened, right? And Bakari Seller says something so important yesterday on CNN. He talked about how if we're gonna have these monuments up, have them up, right? But then right down there, that like right where you have it, that George Washington also put that he was a slave owner. Put that right, write the full truth in there, so then we can be honest and we can reckon with our history fully. I think when it comes to sports specifically, you asked the question if they should be left out or if it should be included. I think it's a time to revisit everything, every single thing. Because imagine playing on that sports team, feeling disconnected, if not worse, insulted or harmed, or whatever you feel. I think that it's something that can be changed, and it's something very easy. The question is, why wouldn't you want to change it, right? That's the problem. I think that's the bigger question here. But I do agree with LaToya that we have so much fish to fry, and everybody wants to like paint, streets and give us all of these things that we didn't ask for, right? When we're really asking for is justice in a true and a lasting way, which means rooted in legislation.
Yeah, I think I take both takes because I think we need the cultural change to almost solidify and propel the change in a system of justice, because it is going to change. It's going to take the way we look at ourselves, the way we're viewed by others, the way, not even the way we're viewed, but the way looking at someone else as a lesser is viewed in general. Because a lot of these sports teams, these are Native American names, and so when we are protecting others, I think it furthers the protection of us all, essentially. But I do want to make sure that we got this right. So the Chicago Blackhawks have said they're not going to change. The Redskins are considering a change. The Braves have said they're not going to change, and the Cleveland Indians are considering a change. So we'll see how this goes.
But it's also a nickname. One of them is a nickname. It's not their actual name. It was just like a nickname. The Blackhawks is just their nickname, alongside with that too.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I believe when they're talking about Blackhawk, their main contention is they're referring to this particular person. And so they're saying, oh, we're opening this dialogue. But if the American Indian Council says, hey, we think it's perpetuating a stereotype, why are you then telling them that it's not? And I think that this idea that somehow, if I can reinterpret it, I will no longer take the group that I'm offending their position on the policy.
In a way, it's part of oppression, right? It's like, I'm going to tell you my opinion on it, and that should trump how you feel. And I'm glad that you brought up the American Indians, because it's like right now, especially now with everything that's going on, we're not paying attention to the owners of this land and how they're dying the most, and even with coronavirus and also with sexual violence. So I think that you are right, actually. We do need to start reckoning with that, and really just, if I tell you that it's a problem for me, the same way we need to listen to Black people, if Black people are women, just listen and act accordingly.
Yeah, and I know that we just had our big 4th of July celebration. Did you guys partake in 4th of July? And what do you think about, as we talk about reevaluating these monuments, should we be reevaluating everything like Mount Rushmore, the Lincoln Memorial, these different...
Stone Mountain.
So should we be going big here and saying let's look at everything? And I'll start with you on that one, Derek. You seems to have an opinion.
But no, I just said Stone Mountain because that's where I was raised. But we definitely should look at these monuments, and I think they're still protesting in Atlanta for that. I mean, you're going to a lot of Black people. Go to that mountain to hike and to hang out. Maybe they do realize, but we were hung there, we were sold there, and there's so much history there. And you have 4 Confederate soldiers or lieutenants on that monument representing the history and the pain that we went through. So of course we should reevaluate and get that taken off that monument. It shouldn't even be up there in the first place.
And so the Jefferson Memorial, I think I said the Lincoln Memorial earlier, I meant the Jefferson Memorial, where some of his descendants have said, that memorial should be repurposed. And another one of his descendants, that was some of the white descendants, and the Black descendant took a picture side by side with the original Thomas Jefferson, just to show, I guess the intent was to show how similar they were, but that this white man fathered this black descendant. And in order to do that, he had to be with a slave who he never set free, or he hadn't set free at the time. So do we even look at the things like the Jefferson Memorial and say, let's repurpose something like that, even though as a founder, it doesn't really tell the full history? Thelma?
You know, I think when it comes to history, it's important for us not to forget. I think that it's important for us to tell the full story. I don't think it should be erased, though. I think that instead of learning about all of the great things, we should learn about everything, right? So then we get to reckon, because at the end of the day, you cannot separate your accomplishments from your inhumanity, right? So we have to reckon with that as people. And we have leaders, right? The so-called founding fathers, we need to reckon with all of that. And I don't think that we should now start an opposite process of now like trying to erase and like choose what to say. No, I think we just need to peel the onion back and just talk about it as is. If you are going to leave up a certain monument, make sure you write what is it, what it means, why it's there. Don't whitewash history, essentially, is how I feel. But I do think there's specific monuments that do need to come down, but I don't necessarily think it's all of them. And I think that again, is a very complicated conversation.
Yeah. How about you, LaToya? I always say we have museums for history, but LaToya, how about you?
Even museums can be reckoned with as well, but yes, LaToya.
Yeah, I agree with Thelma. I mean, our history is our history. We can't erase it, nor would I want to erase it, but I do think that we need to be 100% in the telling of the history, tell all the sides, all of the aspects. Don't whitewash it, don't misrepresent it, don't skew the story in a way that makes people look positive if that's not what they really were. So I think that our history is important. Our history teaches us where we've been, helps inform where we're going. And by erasing it, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. So I just think I agree. Like we need to tell the whole story.
Well,
can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, it's like it's not our history, so to say. It's their history. You know what I'm saying? They tell their history and leave ours out. So I think to add to what both of you guys said, LaToya and Thelma, is that we need to, first of all, be in control of our narrative and our history, and it needs to be added to what white society has written as history for America. Like I was born in Durham, North Carolina. And Durham, North Carolina was predominantly Black. It was actually a thriving city. Now, you go to Durham now, everything's being gentrified, but the history that's being told and to market to is Latinos and Latinas. And the reason is because they're hiring them to come and work and do all the jobs and stuff like that. But you see no history of Black Durham, North Carolina in there, but we're the ones that build that city. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's important that we be in control of making sure our history is told, because if we don't, then they're never going to tell it, as long as those powers are, you know what I'm saying, as long as white society is in power.
Yeah, I totally agree. We it's about redefining the narrative and making sure that not only are we added to the narrative, but the story is being told truthfully and honestly. I can, we got so much to talk about. I can be here forever with you guys. I want to thank you guys for joining. This has been incredible. What I will ask you, as we sign off though, I'd like to just dig in a little bit to allyship. And if there's something you could offer, what's a best way to be an ally for you in this moment at this time? And of course, we'll let the viewers know where they can find you online as well. I'll start with you, LaToya.
I think the best way to be an ally, specifically to me, but to anyone of color going through these times, is to be open and honest and present and honest in your intentions, right? Like you cannot be an ally to me if your true, authentic intention is not to love, support, understand, grow, be better, and to hold the people around you accountable. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to be an ally, you have to meet me in that space. And if there's something you don't understand, you need to be honest about that, and you need to be open and willing to learn and to change. And so I really think that for me, that's the only way to be an ally.
And where can they find you online, Ms. Blakely?
I'm on Instagram at LaToya Blakely and Twitter at Blakely LaToya.
Awesome. Thelma, how about yourself?
I think that allyship has to be grounded in humility and love and in faith. And that's what all communication has to be grounded in for me anyway. So I think that, like you said, authenticity is critical. But also, I think that all of that is really cute and easy, right? Until you have to part with your own innocence, right? That's the part, that's what we saw in that video. So it's like, it's great. Like, I can support as long as it doesn't harm me, as long as it's not at a space where I am now being impacted. I would say some actionable steps is to pause and pay attention. So now that we see things happening, right? We even see somebody getting pulled over immediately, our eyes close there, our phones come out. I think those actionable steps are where we can be. So similar to that lady in the Costco, right? Whoever was to take that video, somebody put themselves on the line who felt more comfortable, who felt safer to address that man than that old woman, don't know what her ethnicity was. Those are the action steps that I want to see from people. And I always say this because this is true to who I am and what I do. Don't even, just with no announcement, step back and grapple with text for yourself. Because it's only when we really have to sit with ourselves and read and reread and come to understanding of things on our own, then we can put language to how we feel, how we may feel, and how we can kind of dilute that. Because truly, this unlearning process is not just for races. Everybody holds a prejudice. And I think this is, it's time to reckon with that all around. So I think that's, for me, allyship has to be rooted in true action steps and authenticity.
And of course, anyone wanting to get those action steps, I love that. Where can they find you?
Of course, you can always reach out to me at Thelma on everything.
That's amazing. And Derek, how about yourself?
I like that. I mean, they basically just said the whole spiel. I mean, to be an ally, you have to be first understanding. You have to sit in to realize that you do have privilege, right? To use that as a weapon to defend us, you know what I'm saying? Instead of realizing that you do have it and doing absolutely nothing with it. And to sit at a table and to discuss actions that you could possibly take, resources of information that you should probably look up and get informed about. And if you don't know something, be uncomfortable asking instead of fearful of asking those questions. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think being an ally is and should be. And where can you find me before you go ahead and say it? You can find me at Derek Downey Jr. on everything. I don't really use Twitter. I'm on there, but definitely on Instagram. I live on that thing.
Awesome. I would say for the allies out there, you guys are going to make mistakes. You're going to get called out on those mistakes. Know that those call outs are out of love because we love and appreciate that support. And don't let being called out because of mistake preclude you from continuing to voice your support for the movement. I just know a lot of people who have made mistakes and have been so ashamed by those mistakes, small mistakes, that it's kind of silenced their voice. So don't be silenced as an ally. Just know your intention, and if your intention is good, learn from mistakes and keep voicing, your support for the community. Of course, guys, you can find me at Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at SHAKA Strong, and we will see you guys next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.